pleased to welcome today Jon Meacham. He is a renowned presidential historian, contributing writer to the New York Times Book Review, contributing editor at Time, and Pulitzer Prize-winning author. His latest book is his Truth is Marching On, John Lewis, and the Power of Hope. Jon, welcome, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Quinn.
In your view, why is it important that people with disabilities go vote?
Because your voice counts. It's a vital element of our democracy. It's a crucial element of the republic itself. And we all have our particular cares and concerns, but we also have generic cares and concerns. And citizenship depends on all of us registering our will in the great chorus of the country.
This is a question that you're really going to like. What is the one thing that history can teach us about the power of voting?
That people have died for it. People have fought and struggled, beginning with women, and then leading, of course, to people of color. I just wrote a book about John Lewis, who was willing to die on the streets of the South within my lifetime for this right, this sacred right. It's the greatest form of nonviolent protest ever devised. It should be honored in its execution, not least because so many people were willing to lay down their lives to give us the chance to be able to shape our own destinies.
What would you say to young and first-time voters with disabilities to encourage them to go vote?
I think it's important to realize that however differently abled we all are, we're all Americans. We're all in this together. As John Lewis used to say, we all may have come here in different ships, but we're all in the same boat now. And so it's not that it's a particular obligation, it's a universal obligation. And I would also say that you do concede something of the moral high ground to complain about our public life if you don't participate in our public life.
What is your voting plan, and why is it important to have a plan to go vote?
Well, it's important in any year because this is a human undertaking, right? It's hard to process 80 million votes in a day. Just work out the mathematics of that. I can't balance my checkbook without making mistakes. Imagine balancing 80 million of them. But because of the pandemic, because there is such a public health concern, it's important to think out the best and safest way for you and your family and your friends, the people you're around. How can you most safely participate in this incredibly important process? My plan is I am going to go in person. I'm lucky we live in a small neighborhood in Nashville, and so our polling place is not particularly crowded. But if I were in a state with mail-in balloting that was necessary, I would certainly do that. And then I would insist as a citizen that every vote be counted.
Being a historian, how do you think history will look back on this moment that we're in now?
Well, it depends on how it turns out. There are 3 or 4 important crises that are all coalescing at once. There's the pandemic. There's a crisis of trust in many of the institutions that many of us have taken for granted. There's the crisis of the climate. There's the crisis of the economic fallout and rising inequality in the country. And there's a 5th one, of course, the racial reckoning that I hope we will embrace honestly and forthrightly going forward. And so even if there were only, say, 1 or 2 of those, it would be difficult.
Jon, what's next for you in life, and especially in these crazy times that we're living in?
Well, I spend most of my time, as you know, because we're friends, talking to dead people, writing books about them. So I'm writing about James Madison. I might write about Abraham Lincoln. I've got 3 kids who are in 6th grade, 10th grade, and 12th grade. So trying to keep them healthy and safe. And so we're just going to try to fight our way through. I'm teaching at Vanderbilt, trying to shed some wisdom. But I'm one of the lucky ones, right? I'm fortunate in that the pandemic has not affected the way I can make a living. But in a small group, and I have enormous sympathy for those whose opportunities have been foreclosed because of our failure to address a public health crisis. And so what I'm going to do is talk as much as possible, write as much as possible to try to help push us to higher ground.
Yeah. Jon, thank you so much for your time, and I really appreciate you doing this with me.
Thanks, Quinn. Appreciate it.